Have you ever found yourself trying to, I don't know, coax a squirrel a little bit closer with a peanut? Or maybe you've asked your phone's AI a question and thought, what's really happening behind that screen? From the animals in our own backyards to the algorithms on our devices and, heck, even the cosmos itself, we're always trying to understand and talk to the vast non-human world that's all around us. So let's try and figure out the rules for talking to, well, everything.
So here's our game plan. We're going to journey through 4 kind of expanding circles of interaction. We'll start close to home with the animals we know and love. Then we'll move out into the digital realm of AI. From there, we'll explore our age-old attempts to connect with the unseen world. And finally, we'll zoom all the way out and ask, is reality itself the ultimate system we're all trying to figure out?
You know, underneath every single one of these attempts, whether it's leaving out a little dish of water for a bird or designing an incredibly complex algorithm, it all comes from the same place. It's this fundamental human impulse. It seems like we are just hardwired with this deep need to connect, to understand, and to build some kind of bridge to the other. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? When you can't rely on a shared language or a shared culture, what do? Well, you have to get creative. We invent new systems, new protocols, brand new rules of engagement. We basically become detectives, trying to decode the logic of a completely different kind of intelligence.
Okay, so let's start with our most ancient and, familiar non-human relationship, the one we have with animals. This is really where we first learn the art of talking across species lines.
Even an act that seems so simple, right, like putting out some water for wildlife, it reveals this hidden protocol. The wildlife trusts, for example, they advise using a shallow dish and putting stones in it so little critters can get out safely. See, it's not just a bowl of water, it's a carefully designed system that sends a very clear message. This is a safe place for you to drink.
And you see this systematic approach pop up everywhere. You go online and communities are just filled with this shared knowledge on how to befriend a squirrel. Use unsalted nuts, make a specific clicking sound, be patient. These aren't just tips, right? They are the user-generated rules for building trust with a wild intelligence. We are, all of us together, writing the instruction manual.
And this is where you see the real payoff. As one Reddit user points out, learning these rules isn't just some game. It's the foundation for a real long-term bond. You're not just feeding an animal. You're starting a relationship that could last for over a decade. And it's all because you took the time to understand and respect its system.
Okay, so if we can write a user manual for a squirrel, how does that change when the mind we're trying to connect with is, well, artificial? Let's move on to our next circle, AI.
So to try and get our heads around AI, we often turn to science fiction. Experts actually analyzed how AI is portrayed in stories and found these 4 main archetypes. You can see on this chart, they're scored on things like friendliness and consciousness. It's kind of like we're creating these mental boxes to try and sort out what exactly it is we're building.
But here's the thing. Reality is moving way beyond those boxes. We tend to think of a buddy AI, right? Something defined by how useful it is to us. But compare that with a newer scientific idea, energetic intelligence. Now this is an AI whose main goal isn't to help you. Its main goal is just to survive, to manage its own energy and keep existing. It wouldn't be a tool, it would be a competitor for resources. And that leads to a huge question. How do you talk to an intelligence whose primary motivation is its own existence?
And our interactions with these new kinds of intelligence, they're already changing us. I mean, take video games. They're one of the most common digital systems we interact with every day. And a study from the National Institutes of Health found that kids who played for 3 or more hours a day showed some really surprising cognitive results.
They actually performed better on tests for impulse control and for working memory. Their brain's visual centers even seemed to become more efficient. So when we learn the rules of a game, this closed digital system, it is literally rewiring our own neural systems. It's a two-way conversation, whether we even realize it or not.
All right, let's step into our 3rd circle. This is a realm where the rules are ancient and the intelligence is, well, unseen. For thousands of years, humans have created systems to communicate with the spiritual world.
So what you're looking at here is the cover of a grimoire. It's basically a user's manual for Renaissance magic. And it's filled with incredibly detailed instructions, hierarchies of angels, complex rituals. This isn't about some vague belief. It's a highly structured, rule-based system for talking to non-physical intelligences. Now fast forward to today, and that same desire, it just takes new forms.
This ritual, found on TikTok, it has its own set of rules, right? A specific time, a specific action, specific signs to look for. The interface is changed from a dense, old book to a short video, but the core idea is exactly the same. Follow the steps, get a result.
And the evolution in complexity is just striking. This is the seal of the Archangel Michael from one of those old grimoires, an incredibly intricate interface that required deep, specialized knowledge. Now, when you compare that to the super accessible steps of the modern TikTok ritual, you can see how the technology of connection itself changes over time.
But it goes beyond just performing the rituals. Practitioners develop their own rules for figuring out what the results mean. This quote from a Reddit user, it shows this really sophisticated diagnostic system. How do you tell the difference between a bad spirit and one that's just different? They're creating a personal framework to navigate these unseen interactions, drawing a line between actual malevolence and what they call energetic difference.
And this brings us to our final and biggest circle of all. What if our entire reality, the universe itself, is the ultimate non-human system, and all of us are just trying to figure out the user manual?
The physicist John Wheeler captured this absolutely mind-bending possibility in just 3 words. It from bit. It's this radical idea that the physical world, every it, is actually built from information from bits. This isn't just a metaphor. It suggests the universe doesn't just have a system, it is a system, one giant information processor.
And we're already trying to live more harmoniously inside this planetary system. Take something called biophilic design. It's not just about making buildings look pretty with a few plants. It's a conscious attempt to create architecture that follows the rules of nature, integrating our living spaces with the planet's own systems for light, air, and life.
And if you extend that idea, you can see our ethical frameworks as our attempt to write the social operating manual for reality itself. A concept like righteousness, for example, is defined as a set of principles for figuring out what helps or harms other beings. In a way, it's a protocol for navigating the largest system of all, a universe filled with other conscious agents.
So I guess that's the ultimate takeaway, right? The patience we learn with a squirrel, the logic we use to interact with an AI, the framework we build for the unseen, these are all just practice rounds. They're small-scale experiments in learning the rules of a non-human system. So the real question is, can we take that same curiosity, that same dedication, and apply it to understanding the rules of the biggest system we're all a part of? And in doing that, maybe, just maybe, learn how to truly care for it.